Because it turns out there's good reason for the United States and its employer class to be worried about losing its dominant hegemonic position in the world economy, becoming merely a bloc among other blocs, from a unipolar to a multipolar global system, to use the language of the specialists who write about this. And what always happens when empires begin to decline, and that's really what we're talking about, the decline of what became the American empire. When that decline happens, a scramble begins in most empires. Those at the top, the rich, do not want to lose all of the wealth, all of the privileges that went with being the upper class of the global empire. And because they are the upper class, they have the wealth and they have the political power to shift the burden of adjusting to no longer being the empire you once were, push that off onto other people. Hold on to your wealth by really sticking it to the mass of other people. We've been doing that for 40 years in this country, but it's come to a head now, and it is being recognized for what it is. The last 40 years have been a mammoth redistribution of wealth from the bottom and the middle to the top 10% of our people and the top 1% above all. All statistical studies show this. There is no basic dispute about this beyond those who can't see what is too difficult to digest. And I want to underscore that this redistribution has now reached its limits. It went on through revising the tax code in the 80s and 90s. It went on by moving good high-paying jobs overseas, by using computers, robots, artificial intelligence to replace well-paid jobs here with machines. It worked by bringing in cheap labor into the United States. Capital uses all those mechanisms to improve its profitability. But it has been going on too long. There seems to be no end in sight. And that's because it's a declining empire that is the problem, not this or that detail. A declining empire in which those at the top, the corporate leaders, the wealthy, the political elite, working together, intermarried and going to the same golf courses, work a good deal to shift the burden of a declining empire off of them and onto everybody else. So in the last 20 years, we've had to resort to more extreme ways of really sticking it to the mass of people. Here's where inflation comes in. The inflation we're talking about raises prices. That's what employers get when they sell something. Much faster than wages. That's what the employers pay the workers. If the employer can raise prices by 7, 8, 9%, but wages only go up by 4 or 5%, and that's pretty much what we've had, then there's another shift of wealth. Workers can't buy. Even if they get 4 or 5% more a year, they can't buy what they used to because it's going up by 7, 8, or 9% a year. The pandemic hurt millions of Americans in countless ways. The fact that we don't have a national health insurance. Rising interest rates is another whack against low and middle income people. They can't afford to pay the rising interest rates on their credit card balances, on their car payments, on their mortgage payments, on their kids' college loans. They can't, and it's hurting them. College enrollments are down. People can't afford it. These are all ways of shifting the burden of a declining empire on the mass of your people. And I wouldn't even be talking about this so much were it not for the fact that this is happening at a time when the American labor movement is waking up from decades of feeling there's nothing they could do about this, focusing elsewhere, doing extra hours of work, taking a second job, working an extra shift, all the ways people cope, making the elderly go back to work, making women who worked in the home take a second job outside the home. All of these things since the 1970s have had their effect. They've made life more difficult for the mass of people in order that those at the top can have even more, can hold on, can be in a position of pretending to themselves, as they do every day, that the declining empire isn't declining. They do that with the same confidence that they say, as they have from the beginning, that one side is winning the war in Ukraine, even though any reasonable observer knows that that's not the case, or if it is the case, there's no basis for us to know which one of the two sides is indeed winning anything.